Somebody who's going to do that is our next speaker. He is going to be presenting the keynote address on the future of service is care. Someone who's the world's leading educator and motivator for uplifting customer service and uplifting service cultures. He is author of the book Uplifting Service and 14 other books on service, business, and inspiration. He is rated as one of the world's top 25 hot speakers by Speaker Magazine for his high energy and high content presentations. We have with us, if you know that he's bringing in the energy, we bring it in as well. Customer experience and service culture expert. Everybody at home, put your hands together. Make it loud. Ron Kaufman, welcome.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I have just been looking forward to this particular event for quite some time because for me, it's actually a bit of a reunion. I'm based in Singapore. I've been here now since March of 2020 when COVID came along and said, no, Mr. Kaufman, you will not be on 100 flights a year like you've been for the past 29 years of your life. You will not be traveling to stages and audiences and exhibition halls and conventions and conferences all over the world. You will be sitting in Singapore and you can serve the world from there. But when I look back on prior years, one of the events that still lives in my heart with an absolutely extraordinarily warm place and always will is when I was at the CFEST show India 2019. In fact, the hamper that you see me holding was given to me by a partner and a sponsor of that particular event. And I just want you to know that I have a kind of affection for Kamikaze, an affection for CFEST show India, an affection for India itself. Over the 30 years I've been living in Singapore, I have visited the country 100 times. And during this past year, while none of us have been traveling very far, the country I really look forward to coming back to and seeing so many of you who become friends is the country of India. I know we have many other people who've logged in from other parts of the world, and blessings to you wherever you may be. But to my Indian friends especially, we look forward to seeing you soon. Now, I am rated as one of the top global customer service gurus in the world, and it's true. I did write the New York Times bestselling book, Uplifting Service, and with that book and with the energy that I have that has been a bit contained here inside the video broadcast studio, I have had the pleasure of serving the world. Serving the world to improve customer experience, as Mr. Ian Golding was just speaking about, improving customer journeys, improving customer satisfaction. But you know what? I've also always been curious about what comes next. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. When I say what comes next, what I mean is how can each of us take the service that we're already devoted and dedicated to providing and actually take it to a higher level? Now, when COVID arrived, my team, my business, my own identity was really critically focused on improve customer experience, build a strong culture that delivers an outstanding experience so that you will delight your customers, improve your profitability, differentiate from the competition, have a great, successful business, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? There is something more than that that is not only possible, but that's actually being called for from us in this changing world. That's what I mean by take your service to a higher level. Let me show you. There's a connection between two fundamental human phenomena, both of which have been somewhat abstract, both of which I've been spending years looking at to see if I can make it less abstract and more practical. The first, which many of you know me for, and the reason I was invited to speak, is about service. Let's get into that in a moment. But the other, which has emerged so much more strongly during the past 12 months, is the phenomenon of care. Now, if you spoke about care in the business customer experience space 2 or 3 years ago, many people thought that you were getting a little bit fluffy, maybe a little bit fuzzy, maybe a little bit too soft. But today, if you're a leader of a team or an organization and you are not thinking about care, care for your customers, care for your colleagues, care for the communities in which you live and work and serve, if you're not talking about care, then you're a little bit behind the scenes. Now, let's go back over to the left-hand side before we spend some time on the right. On the left-hand side, 30 years ago, when I began working in this space, the country of Singapore wanted me to help them become a better country known for service. They said, we want to be known as service outstanding, service excellence. Singapore Airlines already existed, and they were already top of the mark in that industry, but only that company and only in that industry. Nothing else really within Singapore had that reputation. And they wanted the entire nation to develop that reputation. And so I came to Asia from the United States for 1 week, which became 2 weeks, which became project manager for 7 months, which became the national master trainer for 2 years, which became the next 28 years of my life. Here I am, and I'm delighted to now consider myself more Asian than Western in many ways. But when I came, my first question to them was, what do you mean by service? And I could not get a good answer that everyone would agree upon. I heard things like, make the customer happy, do what it is that they want, which may sound sensible in an entertainment or maybe a hospitality environment, but not in a medical environment, because what the customer actually needs may be something that they absolutely don't think that they want. Okay, so that wasn't a good definition. Then there was this one. Treat other people the way you would like to be treated. That's called the golden rule. It's a horrible rule for service because it assumes that everybody else is like you. Fortunately, I have news for all of us. People are like them, not like us. And so the more platinum rule, if you will, is treat other people the way they want to be treated. So then what's that got to do for the definition of service? Or people would say to me, well, you want to know what service is? The customer is always the king. The problem with that is it turned the service provider into a subservient slave. And that wasn't particularly motivating for all the people that the HR department was trying to develop and attract and retain, or that you as a leader in your organization want to inspire and empower and motivate. So I worked in the area for about a decade before I wrote a definition. And the definition was very simple. It goes like this. Service is taking action. Now, that action could be answering a question, solving a problem. It could be over the phone. It could be face-to-face. It could be online. But service is taking some action that creates value for someone else. Okay, if it's self-service, you take action to create value for yourself. But when we talk about the field of customer service or customer FEST, you know that what we're looking at is taking action that creates value for somebody else in the world. That could be an external customer. It could be a loyal customer, an angry customer. It could be a client. It could be a member. It could be a patient. It could be a guest. It could also be for somebody inside the organization. If you're a servant leader, you take action to create value for your employees. If you're in one department and you're helping another department with your action, it's called internal service partnership. Now, what makes something valuable is when it contributes to someone's well-being. Let me say that again. What makes the action valuable is that someone says in some way it contributed to what I wanted, to what I cared about, to what mattered to me, to my well-being. And often in business, that can be quantified. So for example, someone might say, you helped me save money. You helped me make more money. You helped me get more value for my money. Or it might be in terms of time. You know what? You actually did it faster than I thought would be done. Or you helped us to accelerate our existing process. It could even be, for example, in a medical case, you helped my cholesterol level come down, and I can see that in my latest test results. So well-being in some instances can be quantified. In others, it's more emotional. You made me feel good. I no longer feel so frustrated or confused. I'm happy now with my family or with my friends. It could also be a form that is relational. Now I feel like I belong here. Now I feel like I'm a member of this community. Now I feel like you recognize me as a loyal or a premier customer of some sort. And the well-being can even be existential or ecological. Like, you know what? You gave my life a different sense of purpose and commitment and fulfillment and meaning. So the definition Ron Kaufman wrote, service is taking action to create value for someone else. Value is given by the well-being that you produced for them. That simple definition suddenly makes sense in B2B and B2C. It made sense in the boardroom. It made sense at the front line for the leader, the manager, and the supervisor. It made sense for external service to customers, and it made sense for internal service to colleagues within the organization. Simple definition, but it didn't exist when I started to work in the field. Now, I want you to notice something powerful that this definition does. The origin of the word serve comes from the word slave. And where that comes from was the conquering of the Slavic people in the 9th century by a horde that came from somewhere else. And they turned the Slavs into a subservient class, which became known as slaves. And that became the root of the word service. Yikes. That's not a terribly inspirational or motivational place for a service provider to see themselves today. But my definition, which is that service is taking action to create value, turns the service provider into the creator of value, the source of something different, new, and good in the world, the person who evokes and contributes to someone's well-being. Well, that's one of the highest positions that any of us as human beings could hope to achieve at all. So now we have the left-hand side of this connected loop put in place. Service is taking action to create value. Now, originally I said create value for someone else. But what if we extend that and we say, really, it could be, it should be someone I care about? Well, then, what is care? And that was a second phenomenon, another abstraction, another area I became truly curious about over the past decade. What does it mean when human beings care about something? Why should they care? What do they care about? How do we take good care? And I realized we had another problem here. For many people in the world, when you say the word service, what do they think of? A waiter in a restaurant. Because they haven't learned much about the field, like any action that creates any type of value for someone's well-being. Well, care has the same problem. When you say the word care today, people either think very emotionally, empathy, feelings, concern, EQ, or they think about healthcare. You must mean a wheelchair, or you must mean something in a medical environment. And Ian, if you're listening, the entire global customer service community genuinely, empathetically appreciates that you're willing to share that heart-touching story about your mom and your dad and the nurse who was the person who took action that created enormous value for you, contributing to your well-being, while as their son, you weren't in a position to contribute to the well-being of your mom or your dad. We extend you our condolences and the entire community's love for you. So what then really is care? If it's not just an abstraction, if it's not only in a medical environment, if it's not just feelings, when we say someone you care about, what does that really mean? And then I went to the philosophers and I said, well, maybe they can help me. And they were almost completely hopeless because every one of them said, care is notoriously difficult to define. So, well, that's not helping any of us. So I studied and I read and I thought and I wrote a definition. Care is concern. And you know what it's concern for? It's concern for the future. It's concern for someone's future well-being. Yes, you care about them in the moment, but not just in the moment. If you have children and you say, I care about my kids, yeah, you care that they're safe and that they're fed and that they're inspired now, but you also care about their future. if you care about your country, if you care about a sport, if you care about your neighborhood, if you care about a community, if you care about your team, if you care about your career, it's not just this moment. Care is concern for future well-being. Now, what is concern? It's paying attention with an intention. It's having a focus with the devotion, the commitment to help do something about someone else's future well-being. Now, I want you to notice what I've just done again, is I've fundamentally reframed our understanding of a human phenomenon. Now, why do people think about a wheelchair or, oh, it's such a sorrowful moment when we say we care? If you go back in history to the old German, the source of the word care is from the word karu. And the word karu in German means to grieve. Oh. And it also is connected to the old Norwegian word kor, which means sick bed. What? Well, back in that era, if you were old or if you were wounded or if you were ill, you were going to die because they didn't have much more that they could do other than to grieve and worry and tend for you. But that is not what we mean today. What we mean today is to care, to encourage, to enable the future, to empower, to educate, to inspire people. So look what we've got here. A much more connected and, if you will, sustainable loop where service contributes to care and care reconnects itself to the action, which is service. What can that lead to? A more successful and sustainable way of being with our customers, a more successful and sustainable way of being with our colleagues in our companies, in our communities where our customers and our labor force actually comes from, and ultimately in the world. So what is the connection between service and care? And what I would say is that service is care in action. Or if you think about this as a customer experience professional, then you would actually see what I'm talking about and say, wait a minute, maybe the future of service itself is care. Now, Mr. Ian Golding, a really cherished fellow colleague in the global community of customer experience and customer service practitioners, just gave us a presentation where he actually used the phrase, the evolution of customer service. And I did not know what he was going to talk about, and he didn't really know what I was going to talk about. But I want to show you the way I look at this. It's not exactly the same as the way Ian looks at it. And that's a good thing, because when you have multiple thought leaders in our field, where you've got people like Shep Hyken, where you've got people like Joseph Michelli, where you've got people like Ian Golding and myself, we have a level of respect for one another where we're constantly curiously encouraging each other and at the same time provoking community thought, provoking ourselves as a community of thought leaders to take the bar higher and higher and higher still. And the same is true where you work. Anyone who you know who is interested in customer experience, who's at your workplace, you should be getting together regularly to convene your minds. People outside your workplace, outside your industry, people you can meet online today through groups like the Customer Experience Professionals Association is a great place where you can actually connect and challenge your own thinking to take it to a higher level. So here, let me challenge you. When I was a young man and I bought something, or I was responsible for something like a lawnmower in Connecticut in the United States where I grew up, if there was a problem with the lawnmower, you know where you took it? You took it to the repair center. And then it really upgraded and it became called the service center. And what did they do there? They had the spare parts. They had the technician. They could do the problem solving and the troubleshooting. And, you know, there's even a business model that's been created based on this called break fix. Well, that stepped up. Back when I first came to Singapore 30 years ago, what is customer service? It was all about achieve customer satisfaction. In fact, there was a phrase that customer satisfaction is meeting customer expectations. And there was an assumption that a satisfied customer would be a loyal customer. That turned out to not be true. It turned out that in the world, there were so many competitors and so much commoditization and so much competition from a global world of service providers and suppliers and vendors that a customer could be satisfied, but not necessarily loyal. And so the field evolved again. And the whole conversation became about delivering customer delight. Don't just meet expectations, exceed expectations, earn those compliments, surprise people, moments of magic, personal touch, be amazing, right? But you know what? That became too ephemeral. That became too ad hoc, too unpredictable. And so then the whole field advanced again. This is where the concern for the end-to-end customer experience, mapping the life cycle, looking at the cycle, whole customer journey. For example, in financial services today, where someone may find out about something because it's on the side of a bus that drives by. So they pick up their phone and they go to the website. That takes them to the app. They open an account, then they go to the branch, and meanwhile, they're at an ATM in the shopping center, and every one of those touch points is from the same service providing financial services entity. Oh my gosh. Now to manage the experience, and the field has been at this location for quite some time. But it's gone further than that. We've said, you know what, not only a great customer experience, we need that experience to become so effective that it actually triggers a level of customer advocacy, of customer ambassadorship, of customer loyalty beyond just did the customer come back, and even beyond the level of the Net Promoter Score of would you recommend us to a colleague of a friend or a friend. Who cares if you would? I want to know, did you recommend me to a colleague or a friend? Did you actually advocate for me in the social media channel? Will you defend me if somebody's out there who's an upset customer, who's flaming my organization? And that was the next level of evolution. And today it's going one step further. And that is authentic commitment to customer care, which means what? Authentic commitment to future well-being. But the level of care that I'm talking about is not just one way. We do it all for you, the customer. It has become a connected world in which what our customers can do with and for us enables us to do more with and for our customers. What we do with and for our colleagues in another department enables them to do more with and for us. So we're devoted to a mutual future well-being. We become truly trusted advisors to each other, collaborators, even friends, authentic partners for the future. So as you can see, thought leadership in this field is not going away. It's going to continue and always will be evolving. And isn't it wonderful that something like CFEST is convened every year to bring those of you who are in the audience watching this really leading edge thinking and principles and ways that you can bring these ideas into your organizations. For 30 years, I've been known as a guy who's committed to travel the world and serve. And now, when you go to our website, you will see that there's this evolution that's occurred, where this phenomenon of care is every bit as important as the phenomenon of service. Taking better care of each other in this world, taking better care of the future. So serve and care. Remember, I said 2 years ago, if you'd used the word care, it would have been thought to be a little bit too fuzzy, but now it's okay. Well, let me ask you, what underlies the human phenomenon of care? Why do human beings care? What moves us to want to care and take good care? And you know what the answer to that is? It's love. Now, if you use love in business today, people are going to say, wait, that's too fuzzy. It's too soft. It's too empathetic. It's too... And here I am, Ron Kaufman, in the year 2021 to say, well, maybe you might think that way, but give the world a couple more years and let's see where we've evolved to. By the way, some of you may say, no, the word love has been in business, but I want to recite back to you the two titles that have really been written in the field. Number one, love is the killer app. Isn't that extraordinary? That in order to use the word love in business, you had to associate it with being a killer? Oh, please. And how about the other one that came out a little more recently called Love is Damn Good Business? Did we really have to couple profanity with the phenomenon of love in order to make it acceptable in the world? I don't think so. So this phenomenon of serve and care and love, I cannot come be with you in person right now, but I'm absolutely dedicated to being with you here in the studio. And for those of you who'd like to stay in touch, who'd like to really come and see what it is that we're up to and be invited to future events and receive the assets that we create that we're putting out so freely in the world, please come to the new website at ronkaufman.com. If you put the subscribe in there, you'll go straight to the subscription. Otherwise, you'll find it on all the pages down at the bottom. I would absolutely love to see you there. Before I go, I want to say thank you again to all of the people at Customer Fest and Kamikaze and to Keisha. And I want to show you where I've been coming to you from. That's right here in the studio. Mwah! Happy to be with you today. Look forward to being with you again. Keisha, back over to you.
That was fabulous. I think, the word serve is a word that we've been seeing. We saw it yesterday, we're seeing it today. Now you've taken it a step further with a word that you gave us 2 years ago, care. And now you're kind of forecasting that 2 years from now, the word that's going to be paramount, an emotion that we're going to be moving towards in this space is going to be love. So serve, care, and love. Ron Kaufman, thank you so much. I think you've given us these truly powerful tools to kind of get us thinking and moving while we sit here. Okay, so thank you very much. We've got a little ritual that we've been doing. All right. So, and we know that you're gonna.
I'm ready.
Okay, so when I say customer, you say FEST.
I got it. Ready? Go ahead.
3, 2, 1, go. Customer.
FEST.
Customer.
FEST.
Oh my God, Ron, thank you so much. I think bringing in, a joy into the space as well, maybe another word to look forward to. You've already brought it into our space. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us all the way from Singapore. We're hoping to see you in India real soon. So thank you very much.